Let's slow this down because what Brother Miller here is doing is not history, it's not scripture, and it's not even good Mormon theology. It's an argument from silence wrapped in confidence. And more importantly, it completely misses what Christ actually promised to his church. Before we refute, let's preach the gospel clearly. Jesus did not come to write a book and disappear. He came to establish a church, give it authority, and protect it from error, and remain with it until the end of the age. If that church failed, then Christ failed, and that's not an option for us Christians. So let's deal with his claims.
Is the Catholic Church the church that Jesus Christ established or organized while he was ministering on the earth? No, it's not. Our claim is that the authority that was given to the apostles and the keys of the kingdom that were given to Peter by Jesus Christ left the earth when the apostles died.
This is asserted, not proven. Scripture never teaches that apostolic authority was temporary. In fact, it teaches the opposite. Matthew chapter 16, Jesus gives Peter the keys of the kingdom. Keys are not symbolic trinkets. In Isaiah 22, keys represent an office that continues beyond the man. Eliakim replaces Shaban. The same key, new steward, that is biblical background Jesus is invoking. Matthew 28:20, Jesus promises to be with the apostles always to the end of the age. The apostles did not live to the end of the age. The mission and authority outlived them. Ephesians 4 says Christ gave the apostles pastors and teachers until the church reaches full maturity. That maturity has not happened yet, which means the structure remains. 2 Timothy 2, Paul tells Timothy to entrust what he has received to faithful men who will teach others. That is succession, not apostasy. Brothers Miller's position requires scripture to say something it never says. That authority expires when apostles die. That silence is doing all his work.
Catholics claim that in an unbroken line of apostolic succession, the keys of the kingdom remain with the church in Rome or the bishop of Rome. But we don't have a single historical source that shows Peter conferring the keys of the kingdom to a bishop.
This is the clearest argument from silence in his entire video. Show me where Moses laid hands on Joshua and explicitly said, I hereby transfer Mosaic authority to you. You will not find that wording, yet Joshua unquestionably succeeds Moses. Show me where Elijah explicitly says, Elisha, you now hold prophetic primacy. What we see instead is succession by action, recognition, and continuity. The New Testament is not a sacramental instruction manual. It records outcomes, not ceremonial transcripts. What we do see historically is this. Peter dies in Rome. The church in Rome immediately recognized Linus as bishop. Clement of Rome, writing around 96 AD, speaks with authority to Corinth, correcting another church's internal dispute. Corinth accepts it. That alone destroys the claim that Rome has no primacy.
Or any historical evidence that suggests that an apostle set a bishop apart to later become an apostle or to be able to replace them or their universal or central authority over the entire body of the church.
This is simply false. Acts 14:23, Paul and Barnabas appoint elders in every church. Titus 1:5, Paul tells Titus to appoint elders as Paul directed him. 1 Timothy 4:14 and 2 Timothy 1:6, Timothy receives authority through the laying on of hands. Clement of Rome explicitly says the apostles appointed bishops and deacons and provided for succession after their deaths. This is first century testimony, not medieval, not Catholic propaganda. First generation Christianity.
What we have happening is people like Ignatius of Antioch not knowing what to do or who would fill the teaching chair of the apostles after they were all gone.
This is a complete misrepresentation of Ignatius. Ignatius never says bishops replace apostles. He says bishops succeed them in governance. He explicitly distinguishes apostles as unique eyewitnesses of Christ. What Ignatius does say is that unity with the bishop is unity with the church. That separation from the bishop is separation from Christ's body. That's not confusion, that's clarity. Ignatius writes while apostles are still alive. John likely outlives him. So the idea that Ignatius is panicking in a post-apostolic vacuum is historically absurd. Is the irony. Mormon theology requires living apostles receiving new revelation, yet Brother Miller criticizes early Christians for obeying bishops who preserved apostolic teachings. One claims continuing revelation with zero historical continuity. The other claims doctrinal continuity without new revelation. Only one of these actually matches real history.
So if you're a Catholic, show me anywhere where scripture or the historical record shows Peter conferring the keys of the kingdom to a bishop, or anywhere where an apostle says that a bishop is the same thing as an apostle and has the same universal authority over the entire church, or that a bishop in Rome has more authority than a bishop in Antioch or Constantinople or anywhere else. The bishop in Rome has no such primatial authority over other bishops in the church. And again, that is a completely different church than the one Jesus Christ established in the New Testament.
Easy. Matthew 16 gives Peter singular authority. Luke 22:32, Jesus prays specifically for Peter so that he may strengthen the brethren. John 21, Jesus commissions Peter alone to shepherd the whole flock. Historically, Rome is appealed to in early and often. Clement intervenes in Corinth. Ignatius praises Rome's presiding authority. Irenaeus says all churches must agree with Rome because of its preeminent authority. The Council of Chalcedon acknowledges Rome's primacy. Even Eastern bishops appeal to Rome to settle disputes. Primacy does not mean micromanagement. It means final authority and unity in doctrine. That is exactly what we see in history.
The church that Jesus Christ established in the New Testament has been restored in its fullness in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
It's asserted again, not demonstrated. Doctrine develops like an acorn and becomes an oak. It does not mutate into something foreign. The Trinity was not invented, it was defined. The canon was not restored, it was recognized. The Eucharist was not corrupted, it was believed from the beginning. An apostasy theory must explain how the entire global church failed instantly while preserving the correct books of scripture, baptismal formulas, creeds, and martyrdom theology. That explanation never comes. Here's the real question. Did Christ establish a church that the gates of hell would never prevail against, or did he establish something so fragile it vanished for 1800 years? If apostasy happened, Christ's promise failed. If the church endured, then Catholicism is not a corruption, it's a continuation. The gospel is not that Christ restored authority through Joseph Smith. The gospel is that Christ never lost it. And the church he founded is still here. Thank you for watching, and God bless.